You wake up with a cut on your hand. It is small, barely the width of a fingernail. Today you would rinse it, cover it, and forget it by lunch. But 50,000 years ago, that cut could be the beginning of your death. By sunset, dirt is inside it. By morning, the skin is red, then swollen, then hot. The pain crawls up your arm. You shiver beside the fire, but your body burns like it swallowed the flames. No antibiotics are coming. No disinfectant. No hospital. No one even knows bacteria exist. And here is the terrifying twist. The thing trying to kill you is not the wound. It is your own body trying to save you. So how did ancient humans survive infections? The answer is darker than they used plants, and deeper than they were tough. Ancient humans were not tougher than bacteria. They died from infected wounds, infected teeth, childbirth infections, animal bites, open fractures, and fevers that would be treatable today. But some survived. And every survivor left behind a message written in scars, bones, teeth, and memory. To understand infection before medicine, forget the word germs for a moment. Ancient people could not see microbes. They could not watch bacteria multiply under skin. They could not know that a tiny puncture might become sepsis, or that a tooth abscess could spread into the jaw and bloodstream. They saw only symptoms: a wound turning red, a leg swelling, a bite smelling rotten, a fever rising in the night, a child becoming too weak to drink, a hunter who was fine yesterday suddenly unable to stand. At first, that must have looked like magic. Curse, bad air, angry spirits, but survival forces attention. If you see the same pattern enough times, it becomes knowledge. This wound heals. That wound kills. This smell is bad. This swelling must open. This person needs water now. Before germ theory, there was pattern theory. Not written in books, but remembered by frightened people around a fire. Their first weapon was simple: remove what should not be there. Dirt, thorns, bone splinters, animal teeth, dead tissue. Anything trapped inside the wound could turn the body against itself. They learned that some wounds needed washing. Some needed draining. Some needed covering. Some needed to stay open long enough for the sickness inside to escape. They did not understand white blood cells, but they understood that the body was fighting. Redness was not just damage. Swelling was not just failure. Pus was not just disgusting. Fever was not just weakness. Those were signs of war. And then came plants. Long before pharmacies, the world was a dangerous medicine cabinet. Leaves, bark, roots, resin, fungi, honey, moss, smoke, bitter herbs. Most did nothing. Some were poison. Some made pain worse. But a few helped just enough to be remembered. This is where the story becomes strange. At El Sidrón Cave in Spain, researchers studying Neanderthal dental plaque found traces of plants such as yarrow and chamomile. These were not easy calories. They were bitter plants with medicinal properties. Another Neanderthal from the same site had signs of a dental abscess and parasites. In his plaque, researchers found evidence suggesting he consumed poplar bark, which contains pain-relieving compounds, and even traces linked to penicillium fungus. Now, fair question. Does that mean Neanderthals invented antibiotics? No, absolutely not. They did not understand penicillin. They did not know bacteria. They were not mixing medicine like modern pharmacists. But that is what makes it even more interesting. They were sick. They were experimenting. They were using the natural world in ways that were more intelligent than the old caveman stereotype. They did not need to know the molecule. They only needed to know, when we use this, people sometimes suffer less. That is how medicine began. Not with certainty, with desperation. Someone chewed bark and pain softened. Someone packed a wound with a plant and swelling changed. Someone used honey, resin, or clean fibers to cover an injury and fewer flies reached it. Someone washed a wound in moving water and the smell improved. Someone tried the wrong thing and the patient died. The dead taught the living. Thousands of years later, Ötzi the Iceman gives us another clue. When he died in the Alps more than 5,000 years ago, he carried birch polypore fungus. Whatever its exact purpose, it tells us something important. In a world where every object added weight, he chose to carry medicine. Ancient humans were not waiting helplessly for death. They were carrying tools against it. But here is the second twist. Plants were not the real miracle. The tribe was. Because infection does not just attack the skin. It attacks your usefulness. A feverish person cannot hunt. A child with an infected wound cannot gather. A hunter with a swollen leg cannot run. A mother with an infected childbirth wound cannot protect herself. Pain makes you slow. Fever makes you confused. Dehydration can kill faster than the wound. So if the group abandons you, the infection wins. Someone has to bring water. Someone has to keep the fire alive. Someone has to clean the wound. Someone has to keep flies away. Someone has to share food with a person who cannot help today, hoping that tomorrow they might. Infection was not only a medical problem. It was a social test. Could the group spare food for the useless? Could they wait for the weak? Could they protect someone who slowed everyone down? Sometimes the answer was no. But when the answer was yes, humanity changed. This is why healed injuries in ancient bones matter so much. A healed wound is not just proof that the body repaired itself. It is proof that the person survived long enough for repair to happen. And time is not something an injured person can give themselves. Time has to be given by others. Then there was fever, the fire inside the body. Today, we often think fever means the body is failing. But fever is also a weapon. Many pathogens struggle when temperature rises. The immune system becomes more active. The body burns energy to make itself a harder place for invaders to survive. Ancient humans did not know immunology, but they could learn behavior. A feverish person needed warmth, water, rest, and protection. Not a long march, not abandonment in the cold. So the sick stayed near the fire. Not because they understood the science, because those who stayed warm, drank water, and were protected sometimes lived. That was enough. Still, many infections won. A dirty bite could kill. A small cut could rot. A tooth could swell until the face changed shape. An open fracture could poison the blood. A childbirth wound could take a mother before her child learned her voice. This world was brutal. But the point is not that ancient humans defeated infection. The point is that they learned to fight it before they understood it. They cleaned what they could, drained what they could, covered what they could, used plants, bark, fungi, honey, smoke, fire, and memory. They watched fever. They gave water. They waited. And sometimes that was just enough. So how did ancient humans survive infections? Not with one secret cure, with thousands of tiny lessons. A plant that helped, a wound that needed air, a fever that needed water, a patient who needed rest, a tribe that refused to leave. Modern antibiotics changed human history. They turned many infections from death sentences into problems we can treat. But antibiotics did not invent healing. They did not invent observation. They did not invent care. Long before hospitals, the forest was the pharmacy. Long before doctors, elders were the medical library. Long before germ theory, humans were staring at wounds, watching who lived, watching who died, and remembering the difference. The next time you clean a tiny cut, remember this. For most of human history, that cut was not tiny. It was a doorway, and on the other side was fever, pain, fear, and a question every tribe had to answer. Will we leave them behind, or will we stay? If you want more stories about how ancient humans survived pain, disease, injury, and life before modern medicine, subscribe to Ancient Survival Explained now. This channel is building the survival history they never taught you in school. Watch the next video, join the tribe, and step back into the world where every wound, every fever, and every night by the fire could decide whether humanity lived or disappeared. Because ancient survival was never just about strength. It was about learning from death, sharing what worked, and refusing to abandon the sick.